happening, everybody? Pragmatic Addict here. Um, so I just finished watching the new Shudder original film, The Strings. The Strings is about a young musician who has just left her band. I want to say it doesn't really specify too much. She's also distancing herself from, I want to say, a recent breakup with a guy named Derek who may or may not have been in the band, and maybe that's why the band broke up. But it centers on a young musician who goes back to what she says is her aunt's old cottage to focus on doing some solo music. She's trying to get out there and do her own thing. And basically throughout this movie, as she stays at this cottage, every night things start escalating and getting a little bit weirder. She starts seeing shadows, starts seeing people doing the scarecrow bit, and yeah, that's really it. There's not any bigger plot other than that. So when I saw this trailer about a week ago, I was thrilled, man. I absolutely could not wait for this movie. Like, I saw this trailer, I'm like, all right, this might be like the best horror film to release this year. Let me just roll some clips from this trailer. Yeah, looks like a snack, don't it? So yes, The Strings. It is the newest piece from Shudder. I literally I made sure I had nothing to do tonight. Made sure I was watching this at 12 o'clock midnight when it dropped, which was actually 12:07. I started having a panic attack for a few minutes because I wasn't getting it, and then it released, so thank God. So I have some things to say about this film, obviously. So I was watching a few reviews before I saw the movie, trying to get a good taste because we only got like really one trailer and everything. And each review trashed this movie. I mean, people were giving this D minuses and Fs and just saying, basically avoid this thing, it's the fucking plague. And I kept rewatching this trailer and I'm like, I don't buy it. And that's what I want to talk about in this review specifically. This isn't going to be like a typical review, I don't think, where I'm just kind of, talking about what I liked and what I disliked about it, but I really want to kind of specifically talk about horror from this movie's point of view. So this movie is a slow burn horror film, if you want to call it that. And what's weird is, like, I know I'm saying that as if it's not possibly a horror film, but this film is 95 minutes. And I swear to God, the whole runtime, it centers on really more or less one person and her kind of thought process as she breaks up with her band, breaks up with her boyfriend. She's staying at this cottage and she's trying to work on solo material. It kind of like focuses on like an artistic block sort of way. She's drinking a lot, she's smoking a lot, and it kind of does this thing where it's kind of like a character study. There's more or less maybe like two actual real characters in this fucking movie. And what I liked about this movie, real quickly, which kind of like goes a little bit backwards with what I was saying earlier, is that the horror in this movie is squeaky clean, dude. This has got to be some of the best horror I've seen all year. But in saying that, I know, in saying that, there's this thing that the movie does where it centers more so on the character, which isn't a bad thing, obviously, but it's not only just a slow burn, but it's kind of like a character study in a sense, only it doesn't really give us much development of this character. I mean, I'm all for like a good mystery movie, but this movie sets things up so well. It can go so many great directions. The horror is top notch, dude. The performances are fine. The directing is flawless, dude. The cinematography, mwah. But what this movie does is we get like, for the first 30 minutes, we're watching this musician go to this new location. She's just observing everything. And what the movie does is it misleads a lot of things. The directing and the atmosphere and the cinematography, it blends so well with what would make a great horror film. On a cinematography level, I was getting vibes from Under the Skin as well as A Ghost Story, where the horror, not that it's reminiscent of it follows, but that kind of like tension, that kind of, the way that the horror builds up where it's not exactly jump scare-ish, but it does things that are very, startling. but there are very memorable. It does things like that, only it like ups it a notch. All that stuff that I just said, it does that, but it ups it a notch. This is not a bad film, but what the film does is, weirdly enough, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I've been trying to figure out how to say this as I was watching the movie when I was, getting ready to do this review. This isn't a horror film. There is only maybe, like, altogether throughout the 95-minute movie, there's maybe only, like, 15 minutes of actual horror. Everything else in between is just centered on this character. There's sometimes like 5-minute takes of her, playing music and getting really depressed and smoking and having like, like a little Skype chats with her friend that doesn't really clarify on who this friend even is. And going back to the whole area where it's like, oh, this is my aunt's cottage. Nothing about the aunt is ever explained. You don't see her character. You don't see any backstory on her. Is this a spoiler review? What I'm saying is that I'm cool with slow burn, right? I'm cool with a character study movie, but this movie has everything that can make for a good horror film. It's got good atmosphere, good characters. It's got fucking spookiness in it. This has got some of the scariest shit I've seen in a movie all year. There was some scenes where I was genuinely unnerved and genuinely like, okay, I'm gonna flick the light on. Shudder's doing it. But at the grand scheme of it, when it comes to the end, you look back on it, this is not a horror film. This is about an artist who's battling, a block, and who's battling depression, who's battling a breakup, who's trying to figure out herself, and she's depressed. But while those things are at play, while there is horror in here, this is not a horror movie. It's got horrifying things in it. It's got things from a scary movie, but this is not a horror film. And I was I was really baffled by this movie because I was watching it. I'm just like, what is this? This has a lot of elements that are borrowed and that are kind of, nods to A24-esque horror. But then again, it's got some horror that really is an old school horror and what you would really expect from a commercialized horror film too. And saying that, it doesn't ever focus on the horror more than anything. It focuses on this character and it focuses on her struggles, and that's all fine, and the atmosphere and everything building up is fine too. But it never goes fully into depth either with anything. And again, a good mystery is fine. I love me the Lighthouse. I'm cool. This movie was just a fucking tease, man. I respected a lot of things that this movie had in it, and it had a lot of things that a horror movie needs and should have, but it never really gave, it didn't really ever fully deliver in really any department. There's, again, like 30 to 40 minutes of build-up where there's barely any dialogue. There's really no more than one character most of the time, and everything going on between is just kind of like, doing a tour of the locations. A lot of scary things could happen. A lot of backstory could happen, but they just choose not to. And, for a while I was rolling with it. I was like, okay, it's a slow burn, whatever. I get it, I'm cool with this. I like the alternativeness to it. I like the cinematography. It's got a great character. I can wait for the horror as long as, you give me this. I wasn't expect to be in the dark for like 40 minutes waiting for not only something remotely scary to happen, but to see any real storytelling either. Again, this is a really odd one, guys. Weirdly enough, I not necessarily recommend that people watch this movie, but I want to have more people see this specific movie. Because again, there is a lot of good horror elements in it. It is at times really fucking frightening of a movie. And yes, it does have a story, but it doesn't really tell a story, if that makes sense. For the first 40 minutes, it seems like it's a lot of back and forth with the same kind of material, same kind of take, same kind of atmosphere, and scenes that it centers on. This has a story that could be good. It just isn't written in any real way. And this has horror that is really fucking good, but they just don't do it really at all. Like the best way I can put this is that for the first 30 to 40 minutes and everything in between that was still going on with the issues I had in the first 40 minutes, I was willing to sit there. Even towards the third act when I was like, all right, well, it's got 20 minutes left. I was still willing to sit there because those moments where we were gifted horror were so good. And I don't know, man. This one kicked my ass, dude. You win, review. I don't know what to say here. But in saying that, I still wanted to talk about this movie. I've been waiting for this movie for a long time, or what feels like for a long time. I've been really anticipating it since I really heard about it. And it does have some of the best horror I've seen in a movie all year. It's got all the right elements and pieces of what could be used for good things, but it doesn't ever build on any of that. But yes, let me know what you guys thought about this movie, and if there's any movies out there that kind of remind you of this, send them my way, dude. I'm all for checking that shit out. Again, I did respect a lot of things about this movie, but there was a lot of things about it where I was just like, look, I'm all for art and being artistic and whatever and getting your creative blood going, but maybe if you're going to do horror as well as you did in those few minutes, don't try and make this such an artistic movie. That's really the best way I could put it. Yeah, sorry it's been a little bit quiet on the channel, guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all for, the movies that have been out lately. King Richard, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Tick, Tick, Boom, which I actually saw was not bad. But, I don't know. Just wasn't fully engulfed in any of those movies. Again, I respect, King Richard and the whole story and how well it's being received. And, Ghostbusters, yeah, people have been waiting, but, yeah, The Strings. That was the one I was waiting for, and, here we go. But yes, we're back on track. We got a few movies coming out this week that I'm really excited for, and then obviously December comes, and we got Spider-Man No Way Home, we got Nightmare Alley, we got Licorice Pizza, as well as Christmas time, so I'm going to be digging into some Christmas reviews as well. But yes, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and, hopefully this video wasn't as mixed as I'm thinking it is. But trust me, if you watch the movie, you'll understand exactly where I'm getting at. But yes, guys, I hope you guys are having a great night. I hope you guys continue to have a good night, and be safe. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in the next video.